Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the MSD of Wayne Township, Office of Special Services. We are already on short share number 4. As promised last week, today we're going to talk about the differences between summer school, recovery services, extended school year services, and compensatory education services. So, as you all know, about a year ago, this time last year, we all were thrown into a global pandemic. And in light of that, there's been a lot of conversation about students who may need additional supports. So there have been words kind of thrown around. You familiar with summer school, but this new term, recovery services, is out there. Extended school year services, which we talked about last year, but we'll talk a little bit more about that today. And then compensatory ed services. We just want to be sure you were clear and not confused about what those terms meant, and also how to proceed if you feel like a student of yours might need that. And I'm getting ahead of myself. Today you have Mr. Todd Hawks.
Hi there.
And Dr. Tara Reinhardt's today with us.
Hello.
All right, so sorry. All right, so summer school. Summer school is pretty easy to explain because it's really general education. It's a tier 1 or 2 intervention. It's specific to summer break. Ways you can think about this is supporting that work by specifically communicating with your caseload, the families on your caseload, to really market summer school options at individual grade levels. So just follow the procedures that are happening in your building. Summer school is not a service through the individualized education program. So that's pretty simple.
So when we talk about recovery services, they are services provided because of educational gaps caused by unexpected interruption in service delivery. So, and it's not because the school has not provided faith to students. So we think about Hurricane Katrina, school closed down for those students, school stopped, service was not able to be provided because they were in a state of emergency. So then there's going to be recovery services made up. Students still may receive services during a school closure, so we have to consider that when thinking about whether or not recovery services are needed. And they can be provided over an extended period of time, not just when we return to school. So it's not that we have to get them done right away, because we have to think about what's going to be best for that student to get information, to retain it, to be able to master it. They don't need to be a minute-for-minute replacement of services. It's just going to have to be agreed upon by the committee that is involved in helping to make that decision. And it's an agreement between the parent and the school, really. So we talk about case conference committees, and just everyone is going to come to agreement on what that's going to look like and how that's going to be delivered to help fill those gaps that were made. So extended school year we talked about last week, it can be determined due to a variety of pieces of information. We talk about progress on goals, we talk about anticipated loss of information during breaks. And last week we shared the different points you can use to determine the need for ESY. We can take all of those things into consideration, or it can be just one individual point that we use. But ultimately what we're anticipating is, will this student regress in their skills during a break, during a period of time where students are not in school? And do we need to help give them service to make sure that they are not regressing in those skills and mastery of their goals? Again, this is a case conference determination on what that's going to look like. And they're not necessarily a continuation of the current instructional program. So it doesn't mean we continue everything the student is getting. We have to look at the specific skills where we think they might experience regression, and the case conference committee and IEP teams are going to determine what those are going to need to be, what that looks like. And it may take the form of teachers and parents working together just to get materials for home use that is going to be monitored, and we're going to get feedback by the teacher so that they can continue to adjust what those materials are.
So the next topic is compensatory ed services. Typically, this is a misconceived issue or topic area And compensatory education services are only a remedy under IDEA. And so that's really important for us to remember that sometimes there's confusion between what's extended school year, what's recovery services versus what's comp ed. So this doesn't necessarily have to be a service that has been, someone has said we have to do. However, there are cases where we may have known or not known that a student had an IEP, or someone in the district knew the student had an IEP, yet it was not communicated or somehow lost going to that next grade level or next building. In order to make it right, that truly is a failure to provide the student with a FAPE. And so we would provide compensatory education services. Again, that's a remedy under IDEA because we violated legal requirement per IDEA. And so when you think about that, it is an individualized determination. It will be a case conference committee that will discuss the failure to implement FAPE. And so in that case conference, typically when we're aligning compensatory ed, that would be something that our office would be involved with. So that definitely reach out to us. There's no blanket in prescribing compensatory ed. So it's not a one-to-one. It's not, you know, it depends. As I always say in special education, it depends. This is definitely one of those. Again, it's a decision due to a legal violation of IDEA. It doesn't have to be a formal due process hearing decision. So when we talk about due process, that's when there's been a violation of FAPE. It's not a procedural, because remember, a complaint is a procedural violation. This is truly a failure to provide a free, appropriate public education. So when we're thinking about that, again, our district, when we know better, we do better, and we need to make it right with families. We don't want them thinking, well, we just didn't get caught on that one. They didn't follow due process. That's not how we operate. We operate with integrity. And that means if we know that we violated, then we're going to provide those services. Students that are protected under IDEA, just a reminder, our students ages 3 through 22, and they are the ones who are entitled to these compensatory ed services. Again, it must arise from a denial of FAPE, and again, that's more than de minimis. As we know from the Andrew F. case, it's more than de minimis. So it's not just a very slim recovery of, that idea of they had some speech services or they had some OT services, so we'll just give them the minimum. That's not okay, because now we have to consider what did they lose because of us not providing access to their free, appropriate public education. So again, please consult our office on this one because it is a legal violation, and we're here to support you in that work. So next steps, when we think about summer school, you are just going to follow your building's procedures. Every building does summer school a little bit different. We understand that. We absolutely want to make sure we're not discriminating against students with disabilities in summer school. They should have the opportunity to participate. If you have any questions about what supports they might need, please contact us. We're happy to problem solve with you. Extended school year, that's a case conference committee decision, and it is reflected in the IEP. There is a whole separate section that you have to have that conversation, determine what data is showing recruitment or regression, and then you create the services with the agreement between the parent and the case conference committee as to what those are going to be. Recovery services, again, contact us. That is not a case conference committee decision because, again, that doesn't fall in the IEP. That is kind of a separate new idea because of COVID-19, quite frankly, the pandemic. Hurricane Katrina, as Todd mentioned, is another example. So a natural disaster or just not being available due to things that are out of our control. So again, if you have any questions or you want to have us help you with that conversation with the guardian, please let us know. We'd be happy to. Compensatory ed services, absolutely contact us. We want to make sure we're part of that conversation. And that will be part of the case conference. However, one of us will need to be invited to that and really kind of walk you through and your team through and the family through what that's going to look like. All right. Go ahead.
I was just going to say thank everyone for joining us, and tell them if they had any additional questions. So I guess I can tell you if you have any additional questions, please contact the Office of Special Services, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.